To our top story this morning, folks across Wisconsin are still dealing with the impact of severe flooding that hit our area 1 year ago today. All day long, News 3 Now will be marking the anniversary of that historic rainfall. My co-anchor Josh Spreiter is live from western Dane County to lead off our coverage. Good morning, Josh.
Leah, good morning to you. We're coming to you from Black Earth this morning. You can see the bridge over the creek behind me. It's a picture-perfect morning. You mentioned, Chris, that sunrise out here this morning is just incredible. And it was a morning just like this. It all started calm, but it was later on what nobody ever expected that was going to be coming in, almost like a movie, the devastation that was to come later that night. When I was in this location last year after more than a foot of rainfall, that rainfall broke a state record for the heaviest amount of fall in a 24-hour period. The Black Earth Creek Bridge was just one of the many bridges that was either damaged or washed away across southern Wisconsin, stranding thousands of communities with no way in or out. Roads disappeared, train tracks dismantled, power lost, many homes and businesses gone. Hundreds of residents had to be rescued because of the high water. It was because all of that, Dane County officials had to declare a state of emergency. In a one-on-one interview, County Executive Joe Parisi tells me that we all need to take a lesson from that tragic event. He says we all need to be better informed, better prepared, and expect the unexpected with higher groundwater and changing weather patterns.
Now, if you drive through the county, you can see this. 10% of our farmlands that's usually in crop has not been planted this year because it is underwater because of high groundwater levels. People, because of the high groundwater, who have basements that have never flooded before, could see flooding. So first of all, there has to be a situational awareness. People, if they have a sump pump, they should go check it. If that sump pump, like mine, hasn't run in 10 years, make sure that sump pump works. Know that you do not have to be in a floodplain to get flood insurance if you choose. So there's just certain changes that are beyond our control, like the groundwater. But what we have done in county government and beyond is we've increased our first responder capability, and so we have extra sandbaggers, an airboat, those kinds of things to go in to help people initially. If we do, and it's probably a when we have events like this again, hopefully everyone will be a little more prepared.
Now, that storm dropped more than 15 inches of rain on parts of Dane County, causing $150 million in damage. Today, county officials are still making fixes and adjusting to be ready if another rainfall event happens. The county is implementing a multi-year plan to remove sediment on the Yahara River bottom and area lakes to improve water flow. The county also purchased more sandbagging machines, a rescue boat, and weed cutters. All of it's being funded by $18 million that was put into the budget specifically for flooding this year. Mazo-Maney's fire department says they're now better prepared and equipped to respond to future flooding events. 2 new rescue boats arrived within the last couple of weeks, along with gear for each of the first responders who volunteered to be trained in swift water rescue. By this fall, about 2/3 of the department will be trained to help if and when another major flood hits. The Mazo-Maney community raised about $20,000 so the fire department could purchase all this after 100 houses had to be evacuated in last year's flooding. So much of the state was impacted by this historic event. Many homes, businesses, and schools were impacted, either damaged or destroyed. And one of those was the Primrose School in Middleton. And that's where we find Keely Arthur live this morning with how they have come in the last year. Keely, good morning to you.
Good morning, Josh. Hi, we are at Primrose in Middleton, and I want you to kind of take a look at what we have here. We have toys, we have carpeting, cribs, all kinds of things. Well, this room and the 10 other classrooms here all destroyed because of the flooding, totaling up to $500,000 in damage. Obviously, they have come a long way in this year. And here to talk more about this amazing recovery is Amanda Keenbaum. She is the owner of Primrose. So Amanda, give us a sense of what this place looked like on August 21st, 2018.
So August 21st, we walked into dark, hot, humid, and wet. And this is the first classroom we actually stopped in because it's near the front of the school, and there's just still probably 2 inches of water on the floor. We know that we had about 8 inches in the school, but everything was wet and damaged.
You have 150 kiddos that come here and families that rely on you, and obviously, you know, there was a point where you didn't even know if you were going to be able to reopen. How were you able to, and how did the community hold you up during this time?
Yeah, there was that big question mark. You know, wake up every morning going, how are we going to get through this? Being such a new business and a new school to the area, you know, there's money that's just, you know, not available, that sort of thing. And so really it took hope. It took hope from our families. And having those people there to support us, our Primrose family, 25 families that showed up in a parking lot to move toilets and cabinets that all had to go to a dumpster. Just having that support from them, and then the community and our business partners, that's what got us through.
I can tell. I mean, you still get emotional about it because it was your business, all the kids. Well, huge undertaking, but you did it, and thank you so much for waking up with us this morning, and I will send it back to you, Josh.
Keely Arthur live in Middleton this morning. Keely, thank you. Of course, it wasn't just damage in Dane County. Plenty of damage was done across the state as well. Initial numbers estimated the damage to be more than $208 million. FEMA ended up approving almost $9 million in individual assistance grants to more than 2,000 people in 9 counties. They've also approved more than $9.5 million in public assistance grants to date, helping local governments repair things like roads and bridges. So the big question this morning, how did more than a foot of rain fall in these areas in just one day? We're going to turn it over to meteorologist Chris Reese with more on the setup for all of this. Chris, good morning.
Josh, of course, one of the big things that we're going to have to look at is just the fact that it was such a wet year in general. 2018, folks, was the second wettest year that we have had on record here in south central Wisconsin by 2 inches. We were just 2 inches shy of making #1 for wettest year on record. And I think had that rain fallen over the airport instead of on the west side, it would have been the wettest year on record. So for a lot of folks, it was the wettest year on record. Get this, we averaged 34.5 inches of rain per year. Last year, by August 19th, we had 30.15 inches of rain. We saw 10 inches of rain in August 2018 alone, and by August 19th of last year, nearly half of that 10 inches of rain had fallen. So one of the key things for a flash flood event is all of the days that led up to the flash flood event. And this sets the precedent for just how wet last summer was. But the question is, why was it so wet? First thing, we had high pressure over the southeastern country of the United States. This has clockwise flow that moves around it, that taps into tropical moisture. We saw a lot of tropical moisture moving into the upper Midwest, and it just sat there. It sat there for May, it sat there for June, it sat there for July and part of August. At the same time, we had several disturbances coming in with an amplified jet stream from Canada. So this not only helped pump in the moisture, but that fueled the regions of low pressure to have a lot of moisture and to tap into a lot of rainfall that fell over one spot. At the same time, oddly enough, the upper atmosphere wasn't able to steer these storms. So they just sat over one place for an entire evening. And Josh, that's why we saw a lot of these rainfall amounts upwards of 14 to nearly 15 inches or 13 to nearly 14 inches. But get this, all of these communities where you see the 8 to 15 inches of rain were on the western side of Dane County. You get towards the airport and they saw just under 4 inches of rain, which, Josh, is still a lot of rain. 4 inches of rain in one day is a lot. So to get 15, you're talking months worth of rain that fell in one afternoon, and that was just a testament to how hot and humid the stagnant summer was. But finally, a storm system came that just unzipped all of that energy, and that was the repercussion.
A day we will never forget, Chris Reese. Thank you very much. Of course, our coverage is just beginning here on News 3 Now this morning. Stay with us all morning and the rest of the day here on News 3 Now and channel3000.com. We'll have continuing coverage of those historic floods and just how much we've come in the recovery process since last year. Leah, we're going to send it back to you in the studio, but really just an incredible morning here in Black Earth. All is calm, all is quiet, all is dry. Some much good news for this community after what we experienced last year.
Yeah, Josh, 1 year later, you can see how emotional folks who were so impacted by that flooding still get. I have to ask you, what's it like to be back there 1 year after you spent hours out there with our live reporting?
You know, Lee, it was actually kind of crazy driving into town. Photojournalist Mark Schilling with me this morning. He was the one with me when we were here last year. Where I'm standing right now, I would have been covered in water. Last year, the bridge was washed out where a milk truck had actually fallen through. So obviously a lot different. It does bring up a lot of emotions because the mosquitoes are bad out here this morning, excuse me. But because of the fact that a lot of people were not sure if they were able to get in and out of a lot of these communities, from Black Earth to Mazo-Maney, a lot of people, you know, wondering what was going to be coming the next day. And obviously a year later, a lot of recovery has been made, but still a lot to do here in the coming years. Leah.
Yeah, that scene behind you, certainly a testament to the progress that has been made. Josh Sprider with some phenomenal reporting this morning. Thank you, Josh.